How's it going, guys? I'm your host Korriban Gaming, and for today's video we are going to be looking at the commander tier list for September 2020. I'm only going to be covering the legendary commanders inside the game, and you can see I split them into 6 different tiers. As for the best absolute best commanders in the game, A, B, C, F, and farming commanders. Okay, so how I'm going to be judging these commanders is based off a few different reasons. One is their use rate inside the game. Two is how effective they are for the job that they are doing. For example, if I'm looking at Cleopatra, I'm not going to be looking at her open field effectiveness. For Uttartien, I'm only going to be looking at her garrison effectiveness and not her effectiveness on the open field. So I'm basically going to be ranking these based on how well they do their respective jobs. Okay, so we'll start off with the farming commanders first. There's not much to say here other than all of the farming commanders pretty much they belong in the same tier. They are all pretty decent for farmers. Like there's really nothing else for me to say, so I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Okay, now for the S tier, the absolute best commanders inside of the game right now, the commanders who are the best at doing their jobs, the commanders who have the highest use rate inside the game. Okay, first one, you guys probably saw this coming, Attila. Okay, Attila, so very strong right now. A commander that has 0 skill damage but an absurd amount of regular attack damage. You see him in rallies, you see him in the open field, and if you don't have a good defense, he's pretty much unstoppable and he'll just run through your army as if it's nothing. So very strong commander right now. Attila, even despite the multiple nerfs, he is still one of the most used and strongest commanders inside the game currently. Okay, the next commander that will be in the S tier will be, can you guys guess? Charles Martel. Okay, Charles Martel as a garrison commander, very strong garrison commander. You can pair him with almost anything. You can pair him with Richard, you can pair him with Yi Sun Sin, you can pair him with Uttartien, you can pair him with YSG, and everything works. Even on the open field, he's a beast. His shield is very useful. The extra counter attack damage makes sure that you're punishing anybody who is going to be hitting you. Very good counter against Attila as well. And on top of that, his march speed bonus for infantry is very useful. You want to launch a fast infantry rally and then break it up during Arc of Osiris. You can use him and Alexander for the fastest possible infantry march speed inside of the game outside of combat. So very versatile, very useful commander. And that is why I placed Charles Martel as the S tier. Okay, so the next S tier commander we are going to have Guan Yu. That's right, guys. Guan Yu is the next S tier commander. Guan Yu is very strong inside the game right now. I don't know if he's on the verge of being OP. Probably not OP, but he's used a lot. He's a very special infantry commander in that he doesn't have a lot of tank, but he has a crap ton of damage, and on top of that he also has a silence effect with his massive nuke, and that makes him super duper strong. There are people who are using him for the open field. There are also people using him for rallies, and to some extent he's even used a little bit inside of Arc of Osiris. If you really want to micro optimize everything, you can switch to Guan Yu Leonidas when your building structure is in the red, and he will be dishing out quite a lot of damage, and he has a lot of synergy with Leonidas as well if you place him in the garrison when your garrison falls to red. So very good commander right now. You can use him in garrison, you can use him in rally, you can use him in open field, and that is why I chosen to place Guan Yu as the next S tier commander. The next S tier commander inside of the game will be Saradin. That's right, Saradin, even after he's been out for so long, he's still one of the top tier commanders. Why is this so? He's a cavalry commander. He has a nuke. Okay, the nuke reduces healing effects, reduces march speed. He has some skills to give him tankiness that reduces regular attack damage, skill damage, counter attack damage. He also has a skills that boosts up the cav stats by a considerable amount, march speed and attack bonus, and He also deals a lot of damage, extra damage to cities. The only downside is that he cannot loot any resources, but why are you even using him for looting anyway? So Saradin, perfect on the open field, perfect for using rallies, still so widely used today. You can pair him behind a Genghis Khan, you can pair him with a Takeda as a secondary. It is so versatile and so very strong. Even after so many generations of commanders, Saradin is still all the way at the tippity top for what you want to use. Okay, and you can, to some extent, even use him in garrisons. Yes, I've seen Saradin Takeda garrisons working before, or even Uttartien Saradin garrisons working before. Okay, Uttartien Takeda is a slightly better garrison, but even Uttartien Saradin garrison will work to some extent. So Saradin, very very versatile commander also, and very very strong. The last and final, no, not the last and final, the second last S tier commander, Theodora. That's right. For what she's doing right now, she's extremely OP. Like, you obviously won't be using her on the open field, but she absolutely excels in garrisons. Okay, in fact, I would be inclined to say that she is probably the best garrison commander right now. She has the skill damage of YSG, and on top of that, she has the tankiness and other buffs and bonus that you would expect from a garrison commander, and that makes Theodora one of the best, if not the best, garrison commanders in the game. So I definitely have to put her at S tier. And last but not least, the S tier commander that has probably been S tier ever since its release, one of the first commanders ever released inside the game, YSG. That's right, guys. YSG still at the very top. You can use YSG for absolutely everything. You can use YSG for rallies, for open field, for garrison, for events like Saroli, for barbing, every single thing in the game, for Sunset Canyon, everything. YSG can do absolutely everything inside of this game, and he is so widely used. Yes, he may be a bit more squishy, but his use rate and his effectiveness is so good that even for a first gen commander, for it to still be up on the list, it is so impressive. In fact, the only other first gen commander on the S list is actually Charles Martel right here. So YSG, very very strong. And if you ask me to compare out of all the S tier commanders, which is the best, I would say YSG, because he can be used for everything. Like literally every single situation in the game, you can use him. It's just insane how versatile he is inside of the game. I don't foresee him getting a nerf anytime soon. He's not broken by any means, but he's just so versatile that you can use him in any situation whatsoever. Okay, moving on. The A tier of commanders. Okay, for A tiers, we have Alexander. That's right, guys. I would put Alexander as the S tier, but I feel that his use rate nowadays is just not as much anymore to warrant giving him an S tier. If there was an A+++ tier, I would put Alexander right up there. He's probably one of the best A commanders right now, but I feel that he's no longer at S tier anymore. Okay, his nuke is only a small percentage chance of happening. His expertise skill, whereby making you immune to damage reduction effects, debuffing enemies around you, making them take more damage, and all of that good stuff. You know, he's still very strong even with the shield and everything, but I feel that he is just a little bit short of the S tier in the current meta. He's not seen that frequently anymore. Yes, he's still seen a lot, but not as much as the S tier commanders. And don't get me wrong, he's still very effective. You can use him in many places, okay, except for maybe garrison, but for the open field and for rallies, he's still extremely strong. Okay, the next A tier commander, Chandragupta, one of the newest, if not the newest commander inside of the game. Okay, he has an insane amount of buffs, and on top of that, he also gives you a crazy amount of stats to your cavalry. Unfortunately, there's some bug going on with him right now, but if you are not taking the bug into consideration, if he is working exactly how he's supposed to be working, then Chandragupta, I would say without a doubt, he's an A tier commander for the buffs that he's able to give to your cavalry marchers. Okay, next A tier commander, I'll have to give it to Genghis Khan. Okay, Genghis Khan, you don't see him used as frequently anymore, not in rallies, but for open field you still see a lot of Genghis Khans. Okay, he's only really useful if you have him expertise, and he's probably one of the highest DPS commanders inside of the game in terms of skill damage, perhaps only rivaled by Edward of Woodstock. But Genghis Khan, I would put him at A tier. You can't use him for every single situation, but if you're just going for pure damage and more damage, then yes, Genghis Khan is indeed an A tier commander. The next A tier commander I want to talk about is Ramses. That's right, Ramses. You see him quite frequently in rally. For those people who have unlocked him, you will see him in the open field as well. Okay, he doesn't particularly excel in any one area in my opinion, but he does do rallies and open field quite well because of his expertise skill and his first skill. He can actually prevent healing for a whole 2 seconds. So this is actually very useful if you're going up against healing commanders like Richard. Okay. Next A tier commander, we have Richard the First, one of the very first legendary commanders to come to the game as well. Extremely tanky and even then still very useful nowadays. Many people don't like to use him for garrisons, okay, on the open field because of the heavy hospital build. But if you don't care about that, you just want to delay and more delay, you just want the absolute maximum tankiness, then you definitely have to use Richard, and Richard is the best tank inside of the game. Okay, for Eye of Osiris, he works brilliantly well for stalling because you don't care about the hospital at all for Osiris League. Okay, and even to some extent, even in KVKs, if you just want to stall your opponent, you don't care about your hospital, then you want to use Richard. I know 411 actually used Richard against Charles Martel against us rather than a Charles Martel Constantine garrison because they just want to stall us, and it worked out brilliantly well for them. So don't underestimate the power of Richard. He's still a very strong garrison, super strong on the open field, and is the tankiest commander in the game even after so many seasons of legendary commander. So very useful. The next A tier commander, I will have to give it to Takeda. That's right, Takeda, very tanky commander. Okay, on top of that, he also gives a huge bunch of buffs to your cavalry units. So people like to pair him behind either Attila or behind a Saradin. Okay, Saradin Takeda super tanky cav march is essentially the tankiness of an infantry march, maybe even more. Okay, and Attila Takeda, the #1 combo for rallying inside of the game currently, super strong. The buffs from Takeda, it just synchronizes so well with Attila's skills, and you'll be able to do an insane amount of damage with this pairing, and that is why I've chosen to put Takeda as an A tier. In fact, you can even use Takeda as garrison. You can put him behind Uttartien, and they will defend decently well against an Attila Takeda rally. So very good and very versatile commander. You probably don't want to use him as primary, but as secondary he can accomplish so much. You can use him together with Cao Cao as well for a lot of tankiness too. Okay, the next A tier commander I would talk about is probably Uttartien. That's right guys, Uttartien is still an A tier commander. Why do I say that? People nowadays, they don't use Uttartien as much anymore because of the prevalence of Attila Takeda rallies, but Uttartien Takeda can still defend against Attila Takeda, and not many people actually know that, or not many people actually use that. And Uttartien is excellent at countering against swarms, which is why you still see Uttartien being used quite often inside of garrisons and inside of Osiris League. Though she has fallen off from grace, like she used to be S tier, but right now she's only an A tier because of the fact that they've banned Uttartien in KVK 2, okay, which is where she's most useful, and for KVK 3 you don't really want to use her that often because you see Attila Takeda a lot, or at least not a lot of people use her that often because they don't really think Uttartien Takeda is a good garrison, but in fact it actually is. So I feel like she's a little bit underrated right now, but I still feel that for her strength in countering swarming, she's still an A tier commander. Okay, now moving on to the B tier commanders. B tier commanders, there's a whole bunch of them actually. Ethelflaed. Ethelflaed is basically a support commander. You get a bit of nuke, and you definitely want to mix troops with her, but because of the mixed troops, I can't really put her as A tier. Okay, that will give her a very slow movement speed, and you don't get all of the maximum buffs as compared to having one single troop type. That being said, she is one of the best debuffers inside of the game, which is why I couldn't drop her to C tier. I think she's at the very top of the B tier as a support commander, and the best thing is that everybody can get an expertise Ethelflaed. Okay, so even for free to play players, if you put in enough effort into your expedition, then you will be able to max her eventually. So easy to get You've seen her being used a lot in the open field, and she definitely has a place inside of the game. Next one, Artemisia. Artemisia, I would say it's a B tier commander as well. I wouldn't put her as A tier. I think she's quite overrated. Many people have shown that she's able to defend against Attila Takeda, but that is only because you have control of the open field. If you have control of the open field with Artemisia garrison, or with any garrison, you basically will win the trade because you can reinforce and your enemy cannot. If you don't have the open field, it doesn't matter what rally you are sending over or what you are defending against, you will lose the trade either way. And most of these reports that we see floating around online with Artemisia defending against Attila Takeda is because the Artemisia garrison player has control of the open field. That is why you are able to see Artemisia having a positive trade. More often than not, Artemisia doesn't warrant a positive trade against Attila Takeda, and you really don't want to use her, or at least I don't really like using her, because she buffs the skill damage of your enemy troops, and in the open field you see plenty of marchers with the skill damage, like your Edward, like your Genghis Khan. So you definitely don't want her to be buffing the enemy skill damage. On top of that, her first skill also damages herself. So I think Artemisia is quite overrated, and overall I will only put her as a B tier. She is one of the slightly tankier archer commanders, but still archers are pretty crap in this game even till now, so I would not put her in the A tier. Next one in the B tier will be Cao Cao. Yes, that's right, Cao Cao. Not used as often anymore with the new generation of cavalry commanders, but he's still the commander with one of the fastest march speeds inside of the game, and as such he's useful for killing farmers, for picking up runes, and for Ark of Osiris captures. So these are the three places where Cao Cao is used a lot in, and because of that, I will not drop Cao Cao to a C tier. So because of this, I'll probably give Cao Cao around a B minus. Okay, you can also pair Cao Cao with Takeda for a decently tanky cav march. Okay, and Cao Cao does give you quite a lot of stats to your cavalry as well. So I will put Cao Cao in the B tier. The next commander in the B tier will be Constantine. Constantine is a very good garrison commander, but not quite A tier in my opinion. You really want him for his buff on the open field. Okay, so people will bring a few Constantines to the open field, and then you can provide that 10% damage reduction buff to all your nearby friendly marchers. On top of that, his heal, it's a massive heal, but unfortunately it's only once per battle, which means that after he triggers that heal once, he's pretty much not that useful in the garrison anymore. You're losing one entire skill from Constantine after you use that heal. So yes, Constantine is very tanky. He has a very strong debuff in his first skill, and he does give quite a few buffs to your garrison, but after he uses that healing skill of his, he is not that useful anymore. So I would put him as a B tier for a garrison commander and as an open field commander. You can also use him in Sunset Canyon, and that is why I've chosen to put him in the B tier and not a C tier. Probably a B plus, I would say. Next one, Edward of Woodstock. Okay, Edward of Woodstock, extremely squishy commander, and he deals a crap ton of single damage. Okay, single nuking skill damage. Okay, he is the highest skill damaging commander inside of the game, rivaled by only Genghis Khan. In fact, both of them, if you compete, I would think Edward will still win, because one shot, boom, the arrow can deal easily over 100,000 damage if you're launching a rally with him. And for people who are defending with infantry, oh boy, an Edward rally is really going to hurt. Attila Takeda is so prevalent nowadays, everybody is using an infantry garrison, but if you surprise them with an archer rally, then oh man, they are going to be in a world of hurt, because your Edward is just going to be laying on the pain. For the open field, he is not that great because of the amount of time he needs to build up his rage. People would like to use Edward YSG on the open field, but you know, like I said, because of his 1350 rage bar, it takes a long time to build up rage. As such, he's not that fantastic. But still, because of his skill damage and because of his usefulness inside of rallies, I've chosen to put him as a B tier. And the commander that is the best pairing for Edward will obviously be Tomiris. But without Tomiris, if you pair him with YSG, his effectiveness will not be that great. Okay. Next B tier commander, I'm going to have to go with Mehmet. Okay, Mehmet, one of the best city ralliers inside of the game. If you want to rally a city, Mehmet is probably one of your best choices. He just lays on so much damage during a city siege. So you definitely want to use Mehmet for city rallying. Okay. Next B tier commander, I will go with Minamoto. Minamoto not seen as much anymore because of his of all the new generation cavalry commanders. But that being said, many players still use him, especially low spenders. He's still used a lot, and he's still very strong because of his nukes. Even for some events, people like to pair him with Genghis Khan for as much nuking damage as possible. Some people pair Genghis Khan with Cao Cao, but some people also pair him with Minamoto to devastating effect as well. So I think Minamoto still deserves a B tier on this list. Okay, next one on the B tier will be Yi Sun Sin. Okay, Yi Sun Sin is a very good commander for city defense because of his expertise skill. For garrisoning regular flags and objectives, I would say he's not that good because you're losing out on a lot of stats unless you're putting mixed troops inside, and chances are usually don't want to put mixed troops inside of your structure. So for a city defender, he is one of the best, if not the best city defender inside the game. But for regular garrisoning, I would say he's actually quite overrated and he's not that great. Obviously, you don't want to use him for open field as well, so I'll only give him a B tier. Okay. Any other B tiers on this list? I would say, no, not really actually. Let's move on to the C tier of commanders. C tier, El Cid. Okay, I know El Cid has been used quite recently by HKL instead of Out of Osiris, but this is only because of his march speed bonus. Apart from his march speed and his disable skill, he's not that useful, and you don't really see him a lot in the open field, if at all, and you don't really see him garrisoning either. Neither do you see him in rallies. So El Cid really not that useful. I'll put him as a C tier. Frederick, C tier as well. Very strong with his nukes if you get him expertise, but still he's not seen very often, and really only good for city rallies. For open field, he does okay, but you have so many other good open field commanders out here that you don't really see Frederick used that much. So I will put Frederick as a C tier. Okay, next one on the C tier would be Julius Caesar. Very good for city rallying just like Frederick, but outside of city rallying, not much use. You can pair him with a Richard if you want a super tanky garrison or super tanky infantry march. I know some people like to do that, but again, it's not very common, and you have better pairings like Richard with your Charles Martel, you know, something like that. Richard with a Constantine. So Julius Caesar not used as often, but if you want a tanky march, you can actually use him, which is why I put him as the C tier. Okay, next one. I think Leonidas is probably fitting of a C tier as well. Okay, why is this so? Is because Leonidas, his expertise skill very good, gives you so much extra tankiness. If you really want to micro optimize inside Ark of Osiris, you can wait until your building goes in the red, and then you can switch for a Richard Leo garrison, and that will give you so much more extra tank. Okay, so the strength of Leo really comes from when he is in the red, but apart from that, specific, very specific case, he's not that useful. Yes, you can pair him with Guan Yu for the open field, but I would feel that Guan Yu paired with Alex in the open field is still way better. Now, moving on, I'm a bit struggling with this. Okay, I think I'll put William as C tier, simply because yes, he has a bunch of good debuffs, but that being said, his AoE is absolutely pathetic. Like, that rectangle area is completely useless. So I would say that William is not that strong of a commander. Maybe if they increase his rectangle AoE, then yes, he may actually become a good commander. But right now, because of that one AoE skill, he is a C tier commander. Yep. And now for F tier commanders. Okay, F tier commanders, Charlemagne without a doubt is the worst legendary commander in my opinion. Like, the only reason why you want to use him is for his expertise skill. Even then, I don't see people using him at all, simply because why do you even care about dead troops? If you're rallying a city, you just want to take down that city. Like, is using Charlemagne even worth it? It's not worth. Like, Why are you trying to conserve your troops when you're trying to zero someone? You wouldn't be doing that. You just want to deal as much damage as you can to the person. So obviously you wouldn't care about dead troops, which is why Charlemagne is completely worthless. His skills for city rallying are really weak as well. Like, the numbers are just so low. I feel like they could buff up his numbers by a lot, and they'll probably bump him up by 1 tier. But for right now, really, Charlemagne is the worst legendary commander in my opinion. Okay, the next one on the F tier will be Hannibal Barca. For the amount that you're paying for him, really, it's ridiculous. His nuke does almost no damage. His buffs, they are not as strong as Ethelflaed. So, and as a city rallier, which is what he should be, he performs really poorly. So I would definitely not put Hannibal Barca any more higher than an F tier. I heard that he's getting a rework soon. I hope that they definitely buff him up by a lot, because for the amount that you need to spend to expertise Hannibal Barca, this power level is absolutely pathetic and not worth at all. In fact, you don't really see Hannibal Barca on the field anymore these days. So Hannibal Barca gets the F tier, and last but not least, Tomiris gets the F tier as well, because the only two commanders that you want to pair Tomiris with is Edward of Woodstock and Artemisia. She is literally useless in any other combination. Open field wise, she's not useful as well, because you need time to build up the stacks of poison, and people will be moving around so much on the open field. Chances are you probably won't get her poison to get to stack up to maximum effect. So Tomiris is completely useless on the open field. Garrisoning, you can garrison her with Artemisia, but the I've seen a few good reports, but you know, they are very far and few in between, so not that great actually. But the best pairing you can pair her with is of course with a Edward primary, and she will deal a crazy ton of damage if you have an Edward and Tomiris rally. But that being said, outside of this combination, she's worthless, so she gets the F tier from me. And that is basically it, guys. My legendary commander tier list as of September 2020 for Rise of Kingdoms. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more of such future content. Till the next time, I'm your host Korban Gaming. Peace out.